first of which is, do you agree with President Obama's decision to send approximately 30,000 soldiers to Afghanistan? Are you at all worried about the Afghan war turning into another Vietnam War?
First off, I want to say that I do not agree with President Obama's decision to send 30,000 soldiers to Afghanistan, and I don't think that it would actually turn into another Vietnam type of war, but I think we're put in a situation where we don't have an actual clear goal and actually a situation that we're going to win. And I say that because Afghanistan is inherently very, very unstable, and I think that the timetable that Obama had put on, I think it was 2011, the timetable that he put on as far as getting troops out of Afghanistan is unrealistic expectation for the U.S. military. I think if you're going to send troops, you have to have a clear goal, but I don't think it's going to take 1 year for the troops to actually do anything in Afghanistan. I don't think you're going to create stability. And in saying so, I don't think that a military force will actually create stability in the region. I think you're only going to create more animosity and hate within the region, in which people are going to have anti-American sentiments within Afghanistan and within the border. I mean, I understand the situation that is occurring between the borders of Pakistan and Afghanistan, and the entire unstable conditions in Afghanistan. However, I think if you're going to bring goodwill, and if you're going to bring an American presence, and you're going to sort of create this situation where America actually has an influence within the region, I think the best way to do it is to build American schools, to put your resources in other things that don't require the military to get involved. So build schools, put an American flag on it, send more governmental organizations, send NGOs out there, send a situation where they're not being in a situation where they're in a hostile environment with the military, and instead creating a situation where there's infrastructure and there's an American presence that is actually good within the region. And I think that's the only way that you're going to bring this sort of idea of stability within the region. So I don't think that sending 30,000 troops to Afghanistan is actually the best one, and we should just actually completely, phase by phase, get out of the region completely.
Brian, I just want to point out this is probably the only time you agree with Michael Moore and Keith Olbermann. But no, actually I agree wholeheartedly with Obama's decision to send 30,000 troops to Afghanistan, and I'm happy that he made that decision. One thing that I do disagree with is setting the July 2011 deadline for getting the troops out. Honestly, I think that Obama's not going to exactly follow that deadline, because the National Security Advisor, General James Jones, said that he won't, so I'll take his word for it. But I think it's a little deceptive to say that he will, to try to give a bone to his left-wing base. And while the general strategy, I guess, would be supported by people with the same thinking as myself. As far as the actual strategy, though, I think that this will work, and we need to trust our generals on the ground, who are the experts in the field, who know more about it than any one of us ever will. The Afghani people need our military to secure their economy, to secure their government, to make sure that terrorists don't come in and kill the people that are trying to go about their days. And now there are a bunch of other problems, like in Pakistan, and whether we can actually do it, but I think that we should trust our generals, and we need to leave what's called our footprint on the ground there. That's the phrase that they use, that our footprint will allow the Afghani people to grow out of it, and to secure their economy, secure their government, and secure their country from terrorists. And we have to remember that we're in a war against enemies that want to kill us. And when we remember that, I think that we have to realize that we need soldiers to fight back. And yeah, it's nice to create schools there, but that has to be the next point. First, we have to make sure that these schools aren't going to be blown up by the bad guys.
Okay. Couple things. I do agree with the president's decision, but this is my personal decision. I can't speak for my members in my club and the Democratic Party as a whole. There's a lot of disagreement within the party itself. But one thing we are definitely not going to do is act like the Republicans and just give the president a blank check, do whatever he wants. So that's what the GOP did with the Iraq war, with the Afghanistan. When the generals were screaming for more troops during the Bush administration, he just turned a blind eye and he focused towards Iraq, which was a completely unnecessary war. So I think that as of now, there is no threat from Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, but there is a threat within Afghanistan from the Taliban. There's about 10,000 or so members within Afghanistan who are Taliban members. They're mostly in the South Waziristan, northeastern regions of Pakistan, where they try to basically improve their insurgency and try to make sure that they can destabilize the whole country. My approach for this would be this, simple. Afghanistan is called the graveyard of empires. So the more empire mentality we have, the more we're going to lose this battle. So I think it's a good thing that he set out a date of withdrawal, even if he's going to keep it or not, and we're going to make sure that he does. So we have to have a date of withdrawal because we have to send a message to them that we're not going to stay there indefinitely. This is not an indefinite commitment. We're going to make sure to stabilize your country as much as possible, invest in your infrastructure, and then pull out. That's the message we want to send to them so that we don't encourage the insurgency to do whatever they want. And I think with that, combined with that and the address that the President Obama gave to the Muslim nations, I think sends a strong message that we're not an empire. We're not there to conquer. We're not there to take your resources. We're just there to stabilize, make sure the Taliban, the Al-Qaeda who attacked us on September 11th are killed, and make sure that you can have a self-sustaining economy, a self-sustaining process where you can live out your lives. So that should be the plan. That should be the policy from which the administration should look at.
All right, so the second question in this foreign policy category is, has President Obama's foreign policy been that of unnecessary apologies which make America seem weak across the world, or has he rehashed relationships that were weakened under the Bush administration?
This just really upsets me, what Obama's doing across the world, really. I just want to focus on one situation in South America to just illustrate this point. In Venezuela, you have a dictator, a socialist dictator, who's trying to take over the entire region, Hugo Chavez. In Honduras, you have a democratically elected government that is run by constitutional means. Obama has embraced Hugo Chavez literally. He gave him a hug and called him mi amigo. In Honduras, there was a president who was trying to take control of the government in a Chavez-like fashion, and their government kicked him out. They impeached him, sort of, and they put him their equivalent to vice president. Obama and the Obama administration has come down hard on Honduras for doing that. Now why? Hugo Chavez is not an ally. Honduras is an ally. Why are they doing this? It's part of, I think, Obama's worldview that we are no longer going to have American exceptionalism in the world. That when he was asked, do you believe in American exceptionalism, he said, yes, certainly, I do, in the same way that people from Iceland believe in Iceland exceptionalism. I think that's a very dangerous way of looking at it. I don't think America should have the same place in the world as Iceland. I think America has a very special place in the world. And it might seem a little silly for me to be quoting Ronald Reagan, because all Republicans do, but Ronald Reagan liked to quote John Winthrop, who called this country the shining city on the hill. And I think that we are that. And I think we need to remain that way. And I think the world will be safer if we do. And I think that when you start looking at other countries, especially in the Middle East, that Obama has been coming down hard on our allies and being soft on our enemies. When it comes to Iran, he's trying to appease them and try to just make them happy. And I think that's just the wrong way of doing it.
Okay.